Madridistas, welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real podcast. This is the season opener, 24-25. Good vibes, to be honest, into our fourth season doing this pod. Mo and Farooq has been with us since the very beginning. Before we kind of delve into all this, we're gonna, I'm gonna ask you about your journey, basically, doing this, with this family that we have built from scratch. I'll come to you first, Mo. Humble beginnings. Yeah, we just got on a call on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, some weekday. Then we hit it off. Here we are, 3.5 years later.
Yeah, man, it's been quite a journey. It has had its own ups and downs, but what matters is at the end of the day, today we are celebrating, we are here starting the fourth season, so going into the second SuperCup. I think we won 2 Champions Leagues together. I mean, I say we, although we didn't have anything to do with it, but yeah, still.
We did have a major part to play in it. Let's be honest.
I'm gonna take full credit either way. So yeah, man, it's been a tremendous journey, and like I said to you, before, I was really excited to be here today. I wanted to, kick off the fourth season with you guys, with Farooq. Sadly, Jacob isn't here for, personal reasons, something that we don't really want to talk about here. But yeah, man, it's been a smashing journey. It has been a real outlet for me to be able to talk about something, with people who really share the interest and really share supporting Real Madrid. You guys have the same passion as I do for the club. So always happy to be here, always happy to talk football with you guys. And, I hope long may it continue.
100%. Farooq, take it away.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's quite interesting. That's the point. Everyone literally I don't think anyone lives in the same time zone. Okay, maybe just more in Sunaida, the only 2 people who live in the same time zone.
Just Farooq. Take it away. You and Doris.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's quite interesting. That's the point. Everyone literally the same time. I don't think anyone lives. Okay, but the point is we all live in maybe just thousands of kilometers apart or hundreds of kilometers apart. In places, no 2 people live in the same country. So it's quite interesting, to be able to form a group with this. And the interesting part about it is these are not people that or seen or stuff like that. Just come together, as you said, over a phone call, or even in my case without a phone call. Just okay, we just discussed and let's do this. And now we have a group of people that even away from the podcast, these are people that you can rely on, for your personal stuff outside of this. And I think that's even the more valuable thing. It's the relationships that you build along the road. And I think for that, I will be eternally grateful for that. And yeah, it's the 4th year run, and it's basically we've been doing this for 3 seasons, and we have 2 Champions Leagues in 3 seasons, man. I mean, that's more than a great return, man. Hopefully, we can make it 3 and 4 this year.
100%.
That's the one thing that before you go on, I just want to say this thing to whoever is Farooq's supervisor who's watching this podcast. Just know that Farooq doesn't do any work. It's all behind the scenes. Me and Sunet who's working for him. So if you want to sack him and pay us a little less, we'll do the job.
That's a fair point. Farooq has been getting away with it for years, right? He has been kind of scamming his way.
Yeah, this guy is just the face, He doesn't do anything. It's all us.
I mean, the point is you only do as much as you get paid to do. So you can believe that I'm paid enough to do what I do. So if you guys are willing to do more for less, even I will employ you.
Farooq, this is an open space. You can speak your mind. You really can speak your mind. I know you're just holding back a bit, but jokes aside, that's one thing, Farooq said that really resonated well with me, that we have managed to forge relationships, that would last a lifetime doing this. And, stepping into this, none of us ever thought that we would reach a point like that. But fortunately, we have a few people we can rely on, outside the sport, as a matter of fact, which is a huge deal for me. And like what Mo said, it has also been, a brilliant outlet for me as well, to speak about the club, to kind of, vent about the club and whatnot. Very productive, not when we lose, obviously, but these 2 seasons, the ones with the 2 major doubles, I think, has had a tremendous impact on all of our lives. And I truly believe our pod has a little bit to do with it. We are kind of a lucky charm because this is in its entirety, one of the best periods in the club's illustrious, 100+ year history. But yeah, moving forward into this season, we have quite a few talking points, right? The Mbappe saga is finally over. Before we get into it, big up our partners, Manscaped. Go check them out. LBI20 to get 20% off and free shipping on manscaped.com. They have been supporting true football movements like us over the past 4-5 years, all across the UK, NA, Europe, you name it. Manscaped is the pioneer, of men's grooming. They have stuff like trimmers, launchwear, beard waxes. Go check them out. LBI20 to get 20% off and free shipping on manscaped.com. But yeah, Mbappe's situation is finally resolved. We didn't really get too hyped about the whole transfer because we were kind of over it. But I think it's the best place to begin because we really haven't had time and space to really talk about the Mbappe equation amongst us. After he signed. Mo, what's the feeling like? Is he the definitive final piece of the puzzle?
That's a very loaded question, honestly. Is he the final piece of the puzzle? I don't know, because if he had been here last season, I probably would have tended towards saying that he's probably the final piece of the puzzle. But right now, I think we've lost an even more important piece of the puzzle in Toni Kroos. So final piece, no. Important piece, yes, definitely. I think we were discussing this in the preview for the last season, and we were talking about which striker Real is going to sign, and we were discussing, Harry Kane is going for such and such value to Bayern. Why isn't Madrid doing anything? And if I remember, we said that Real Madrid is not going to sign anybody. It's going to be Mbappe or nothing. And if it doesn't happen this summer, it's going to happen next summer. And here we are. And here is Mbappe with us. So now we are all like the fans of Ninja Turtles or whatever. But honestly, for me, it's like I'm pretty excited about Kylian Mbappe coming to Real Madrid because I think I've always maintained that he's one of the best players in the world, probably the best. We have had our ups and downs. We, as fans, obviously, when a player is going to reject your club and stay on at PSG or any other club for that matter, you kind of feel disappointed. You kind of feel aggrieved.
Especially PSG, though. Especially.
I mean, I think it was worsened by everything that happened in the way that decision was made. This guy is in 2021, he's going out doing interviews and saying, okay, fine, I'm going to join Real Madrid next season. In the summer, I wanted to join Real Madrid. And then the summer rolls around, he signed an extension. Now, whatever happened behind the scenes, we aren't privy to. So we don't know, what went on, what the true story is. But the thing is, at the end of the day, all that matters is, Kylian Mbappe is here. I think most fans are willing to turn the page. As soon as he scores his first goal, everybody's going to be a big fan of his. For me personally, watching his interviews and seeing his demeanor and, everything that he said all the right things. He's used all the right words. I'm sure, I'm sure people somebody in the podcast, not you, have higher standards, and they'll be I want to see more before I turn the page on Mbappe. But personally, for me, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones, and let's just see what happens. And Kylian Mbappe, I hope he settles in well. I hope he does well. I think he's probably going to be the best goal scorer that we can get right now. Maybe apart from Haaland, but that's a completely different story. Maybe a story for next summer, but for now, let's just focus on Mbappe and hope he delivers.
I would like to kind of reiterate what Mo said. What Farouk might think that he would have to earn our trust. I'm on the very same page. If Farouk is there, that's kind of our general consensus, knowing Farouk over the years, right? But I would say that he definitely have to, prove himself again. But what I think is happening is that he is kind of like I expected, like I did mention when people were kind of bringing up the whole, Mbappe is a bigger PR stunt than Cristiano at times. Will be, he'll be difficult to manage for the club for. Perez, I used to say that this club and its stature and the pressure that comes with it will definitely humble anyone, regardless of who he is. If it's Mbappe, if it's Maradona, Pele, you get to Real Madrid, there is a certain, kind of decorum you have to abide by. But that aside, you see reports of him trying to sign, trying to buy, what is it, a third tier, fourth tier club in France, and whatnot. So yeah, power play is still going on. I don't know why, it's his life. He earns a buckload of cash. I think it's a good way to invest money, but stuff like that as a fan, as someone who is a common man like me, looking at that, he's gonna be playing for the biggest club in the world, and this is his definitive stepping stone in his career. So far, apart from the World Cup, what has he essentially won? People might say, yes, World Cup is the pinnacle, but in club football, there is miles to go for Mbappe, personally, right? So these kind of distractions aside, I hope he really proves himself on the pitch, because people will start talking otherwise, because, the PR out there for Mbappe, although it has kind of, dulled down a bit, it still doesn't help, because every touch of the ball he takes will be scrutinized like no other. Farouk, bro, what's your take on this Mbappe situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go away from what you guys have said and just, say one thing is that we won the double last year, right? The point is now Kylian Mbappe comes into this team. If he wants, he can score 4 goals against Espanyol. If he wants, he can score 10 goals against Moyo. Point is this. Until and unless Kylian Mbappe shows up in the biggest games, I'm sorry, but it's horseshit. The point is, as for me personally, as a fan, what Kylian Mbappe has put us through over the past couple of years tells us that, okay, this guy is a one-man show, And you rightly pointed out, the point is that he's a bigger PR circus than Cristiano, because why? When Cristiano was there, the PR wasn't like the whole social media thing wasn't this big.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, if we want to go back, when Beckham was playing, when Tino was playing, when, those guys were playing, if the social media was this big, then what these guys have now would just be, like child's play. But the point is, this is the reality of what, this is right now, like all what he's saying, speaking in Spanish, saying the right things, this and that. That's all PR. Like, I mean, if I want, I can literally hire a PR coach and I can also speak eloquently as he speaks. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. But the point is, Kylian Mbappe is not coming into this team to win us games against Mallorca. Kylian Mbappe is coming into this team to make us go into the games against Man City more confident, to go into the games against, not Barcelona, to go into the games against European giants more confident, go into the Champions League games more confident. So until and unless he proves that, which is it, like he has to prove himself. That's what I think. Because he's coming to the team that has the 2 best players in the world. The Ballon d'Or podium is going to be Vini and Bellingham, who is first or second. That's a secondary debate, you understand?
Yeah.
So they come into the team with the best players in the world who have done it without him. So if he comes into the team and this team doesn't function, then we know where the problem is. There is no need for it.
That's the sorry to cut you off, Farouk. That is the biggest pressure, right? Because you're compared to the likes of Cristiano, there's expectation, from that angle. But Cristiano used to always guarantee a goal just by being on the team sheet, right? That's what is going to be expected of Mbappe as well.
The point is this, like, at least for me, my difference in the perception is this. When Cristiano came, before Cristiano came, I remember, like, I think the season before we got knocked out by AS Roma in the round of 16. I can't remember. Maybe Mo remembers better. But
was it Lyon?
I think it was AS Roma. Then Lyon was with
Roma?
Cristiano. When Cristiano came, it was Lyon. So the point is that we had not been past the group stage, past the round of 16 of the Champions League for how many seasons before Cristiano came. So when Cristiano came, he was a savior, basically. Whatever Cristiano did, we had to jump on this. But Kylian Mbappe missed the boat last season when Benzema left to have joined this team on the back of that humiliating defeat at the hands of Man City. Now he's joining a team who basically is at the pinnacle of world football right now. So he's joining as an additional piece, not as the final piece. To go back to the question you asked, Mo, you understand? So this is the point I'm trying to make here now, is that he's coming here, bro. Already we've seen, fantastic goals against Espanyol and Mallorca. And I mean, we saw the game against Girona, who were high flying, and Vinicius literally in the first 5 minutes make them look like, he was playing in the park. You understand? So like these are things we've seen before. He has to show at least me something different. Which is what, as you rightly pointed out, okay, like we don't want to ridicule the World Cup. The World Cup is the pinnacle of football. Or you take away the international performance. What has Kylian Mbappe done? Or what has he achieved as a footballer on the club side level. We saw the games against Borussia Dortmund last year. He was basically anonymous.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the thing. Like the pressure is there, and he created the pressure for himself. This is something he thrives on. Yeah. Of course, he has the maximum ceiling. The most potential right now in world football. So, like, can he deliver on that promise? So this is the question.
Big questions.
Can I just say, like, I mostly agree with what both of you guys have said. The only thing that I probably disagree with what Farouk said was the fact that if Madrid don't repeat the success of last season, there's going to be an obvious culprit. I don't think it's like as cut and dry as that, because okay, fine, you've gained Mbappe. Mbappe is like probably the best player in the world right now, but you've also lost a very big piece in your midfield, in Toni Kroos. So the bigger question for me for Real Madrid, like, I mean, the question about Kylian Mbappe is always going to be there about how Ancelotti manages it. But I think like these guys, Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Jude Bellingham, all these guys are like top players. They know how to figure it out on the pitch. So for me personally, I'm not that worried about that. What I'm worried about is like how Real Madrid is going to deal with the absence of Toni Kroos, because we've already seen in the preseason, I mean, that Real Madrid kind of looked a little bit thin in the midfield, and I think Toni Kroos' job, nobody can do it. Maybe if you want like a budget version of it, maybe Dani Ceballos could do some of the controlling. But I mean, come on, Toni Kroos is like Toni Kroos. You really can't replicate him. And Real Madrid don't have anybody in the midfield who can do anywhere close to that job. Our midfield is like very physical right now. The way it is constructed with Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Fede Valverde, even Jude Bellingham to an extent. Maybe if Goulart can adapt to playing a little bit deeper, which I think Real Madrid were trying out in training in the preseason. If you guys watch the videos, I think Goulart was at times dropping pretty deep to initiate plays from the deeper phases of the game. So if that is something Ancelotti foresees doing, I will see how that evolves. But for Real Madrid, that is the biggest question. It's not just about Mbappe. Yeah, Mbappe is coming in, but if Madrid loses, it's not necessarily going to be because of Mbappe. It's going to be because we lost Toni Kroos, and probably we couldn't figure out how to replace him. So for me, that is the biggest question going into the season. It's not about how Mbappe is going to fit, because he's a big name player. He has played with the biggest of names. I understand whatever happened with PSG in the last 2 seasons, especially. I think it's kind of like disappointing, because I think he wasted 2 years at PSG. He should probably have been here in 21, if not in 22. But now he's here, 24. Let's see what happens.
The thing is, I'll stress on this, right? Last season we lost Benzema, right? And alarm bells were going off. We were so accustomed to actually playing behind Benzema. He was a trigger for the press. He was the guy who basically linked up, the latter phase of our play. But we have to give again tremendous credit to Carlo and his coaching staff, who devised a plan for us to kind of scrape through with flying colors. It might not have been pretty all throughout the last season, but it ended in a double. So I have complete faith in these guys to again come up with something ingenious.
Yeah, no, that is really true, and I share that sentiment. For me, the thing is like it isn't about whether I trust the ability of Ancelotti or the staff to figure out. It is totally. I know. The thing is like there is no better manager for Real Madrid than Carlo Ancelotti at this point in time, and I'm sure that he can figure out what solution he wants. The issue for the only thing for me is like is if Madrid loses, it's not going to be just because of Mbappe. That is the thing that I don't want to go into the season with. For me, obviously there is this question about how Mbappe is going to perform, how Mbappe is going to fit in with the rest of the team, because you guys have rightfully made the correct points. He's coming into the season where Real Madrid, after a season where Real Madrid pretty much won everything apart from the Copa del Rey. So, he has to adapt to the team instead of the team adapting to him. So I completely agree with that. The second thing is like he has to step up and perform, because he's not achieved anything in club football. So those are challenges for him, and I think he has the ability to deliver on that. He has the ability to adapt to it, and I think he is intelligent enough to realize what his place in the team is going to be, and work around that. But like, I wouldn't, if at the end of the season the results aren't in our favor, I wouldn't just put it squarely on Mbappe. That's all I'm saying.
See, this is a very rational take, but on social media, people are going to rip him apart. Mbappe is going to be the first guy to take shots. But Farouk gone.
On social media, people say Jude Bellingham is posting, sympathy messages or get well soon messages for John Martinez because he wants to do PR. So you don't have to I personally don't take social media too seriously.
People say stuff like that. Oh my God. Anyway, but Farouk was going to say something.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna point to what Mo was trying to say, and the point is just like the point I was trying to pass across earlier is that, like, I actually I use the word if the team fails. The reason why I said fail and not lose is that what I meant by that is that, like, for example, last year apparently Carlos said that he had no issues with not one single player came to him and told him that he's playing less than he's expected. It was like smooth sailing. He said for the first time in his life he had smooth sailing. He didn't have to deal with one single player. So what I meant by that is that helps a lot. When we saw, like, okay, Jude Bellingham came into the team, he's going to play as a number 9, what it is or what he knows, forget about his performances or anything. He tried, he did his best, he adapted, and there was no problem. Like, they were literally, like, and there was a very strong harmony and cohesion with the other players. What I meant by that is that if the team starts to fail for whatever reason, if the dressing room starts to have a problem, if there starts to be tension rising here and there, we can at least have an idea of where the problem is coming from. And it's the guy who literally came in right now with all the massive ego and all the baggage and all the PR and what is and what is not. That's just the thing. So this is the point I'm trying to make.
I think that is like too simplistic a way of looking at it. Because just because this is the new guy, you put all the blame on him. I mean, come on, I don't agree with that. Like, right now, I can tell you that maybe Ceballos wants to leave. He asked earlier in the summer to leave. If he doesn't get opportunities, is it the fault of Mbappe that he's not getting opportunities and unhappy?
Now, of course, like, that's a whole different thing, though. Like, no, because
but you just said that if anything happens in the dressing room and dressing room is disturbed, you're gonna put it on Mbappe.
If it comes into the situation and, like, leads to friction among the other younger players between him and them because there's a preferential treatment to this person or to that person, or this person has this.
The thing is, like, I think Ancelotti is an experienced.
Farouk has a point.
I mean, Ancelotti is an experienced enough coach to realize, like, this sort of preferential treatment is not going to work. He's managed a lot of dressing rooms with maybe players who have achieved more in their careers, with his Milan team. So, and even with the Madrid team that he managed in 2014 and everything. So, for me personally, I think Ancelotti is, he's clever enough. His support staff is clever enough to know how to manage this dressing room. I don't think an issue is going to be there because XYZ is getting more preferential treatment, because I think this dressing room is mature enough. This dressing room has good leaders, Carvajal, Lucas Vazquez, Luka Modric, everybody is there, and even the young core, we have guys like Fede Valverde who know how to manage situations, and I think they've learned from the best, and Sergio Ramos and Marcelo and all of those guys. So for me personally, I don't anticipate that to be an issue, but if it is an issue, it will be unfortunate. For me, I would just say that we shouldn't be really too quick to jump the gun and say, okay, fine, if something like this happens, it's going to be because of Mbappe.
I think the whole, the dressing harmony in jeopardy is a very far-fetched take, because this dressing room is as united as I think any Madrid dressing room has ever been, throughout its history.
And I think there are already relationships between Jude and Vinicius and Rodrigo and Mbappe. Yeah. I mean, they've already had such situations, and I think we have to remember that these guys, this new generation of players, take a lot of their cues from the NBA and how those guys behave, and I think we have seen a lot of people teaming up in the NBA, and I anticipate it's going to go down the same way where people want to get together and win.
Not a huge fan of the NBA, but I get the reference. But what Mbappe is coming into is a team that basically scored the most open goals, the most goals from open play last season, right? Vinicius Junior is the only player to score or assist in 15 out of his 16 Champions League knockout ties in his career. That is a 94% success rate. He has 23 goals and assists in 23 Champions League ties he has played in his career. So he's not coming into a side that is struggling. He's coming into a team that has already staked out a clear identity, for itself. And that is going to be Mbappe's calling card. Whether he rises to the challenge or not has remained to be seen.
I just want to go back to the point I made. This team is without Cruz, so this team is not the same team as last season. This team is going to be different.
It's still going to be a winning machine. Let's be honest.
The most fundamental aspect of this team, getting the ball out from the back, into the attack
Yeah.
was done by Toni Kroos.
Yeah.
Now you've lost that guy.
I know.
So the team is going to be a little different. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, last season we did incredibly well, but you have lost the fulcrum of it. So we can't really have the same expectations going into the season.
People said the same stuff last season.
Okay.
I said I still expect a double.
People said the same season because, without Mbappe, we lost a key piece. And the team that was playing in the 21-22 season, 22-23 season was different from how we played in 23-24 season. So, 24-25 is going to be different from 23-24. What we are going to achieve, expectations are going to be high because Kylian Mbappe is joining a team, like you guys said, rightfully said. He's joining a team that won the double last season. So the expectation and the challenge for him is to rise to their level. So that I completely agree with. I'm just saying overall for the team, we have to just accept that, Toni Kroos has gone, so this team is going to be slightly different, and it's going to take some time for them to get into the rhythm of things. Because last season, if 100%. You remember, we started with Camavinga, Valverde, Tchouaméni, and Bellingham midfield. And the initial games, it was kind of like clunky. So there was a reason why Ancelotti decided to bring back Toni Kroos into the midfield, and then suddenly the team started firing. So, there's going to be a period of adjustment, that's all I'm saying.
I have a question to ask you, Domo. Which is the bigger differential? Kylian Mbappe joining or Toni Kroos leaving?
Toni Kroos leaving, 100%.
Mbappe joined because Toni Kroos, as good as he was, I completely understand, right? One of his biggest fans, just like all of you are, right? I get what Mo is kind of alluding to by mentioning, he is basically our metronome. He used to collect the ball out of the back, our best get out of jail card, the diagonal to Carvajal is going to be a thing of the past. I get it. But I was speaking to Francesco. What he said was, we're going to reinvent ourselves like we have always done.
That is what my point is. That is what my point is. My point is this team is going to reinvent itself. And the period of reinvention takes a little bit of time. So it's not going to be the same team as last season. The team last season is gone because Toni Kroos is gone. This team is going to have its own way of winning. I'm not saying this team is not going to win. I'm just going to say it's going to take some time for it to figure out on the pitch. You can do it in the training field. 100%, it might work, but it doesn't necessarily translate on the pitch in the game day situation. So this team still needs time to figure out how it's going to approach that. That's all I'm saying.
That's a fair point. Like we saw. What was that, Farouk?
No, I was asking more if he thinks we're still one transfer away. Or does he think it's a in-house development?
No, it's going to be an in-house development. How can you get, who is there on the market that you can say, okay, fine, this guy's a like-for-like replacement for Toni Kroos?
The point is, we're not talking about next season. Next season can be a stop makeshift. I'm just talking about in the long run. Do you think it's we need?
No, I think okay. How the season goes is going to tell us that. For me, I have 100% expectation that Ancelotti and co are going to figure out how to get this team running. So for me, I have 100% confidence in the midfield that we have currently, and I think ultimately they're going to get there. There's going to be a period of adjustment. That's all I'm saying.
As expected, last season we saw, the transition from the 4-3-3, which was one of our most successful formations for the large part of the previous decade. All of a sudden that's out of the window, and in comes a diamond, and a couple of different iterations of the diamond. Kind of carried us through the season. So there's going to be, some bumps along the road, but I'm pretty confident these guys, are well equipped to deal with this. Toni Kroos, as good as he was, we have to kind of look ahead. But yeah, Kroos, Mbappe, again, Rodrigo kind of, is in the mix, right? For the right or wrong reasons. Mo, you were mentioning, the City interest. Me, I was honest about not, really going out of my way to kind of look up on it. But it would break my heart to actually see him go, or even, play second fiddle, to his competitors this season. But from the media, at least, what I get is, the faith is still, supreme with Rodrigo, and he is a key part of our attack. He's going to be playing in the 4-3-3 alongside Vinicius and Mbappe, at least to start the season. But what is your whole opinion on how Rodrigo is gonna fare this season more? Do we have to be optimistic? Do we have to be neutral? Do we have to be pessimistic
about Rodrigo?
Yeah.
This is kind of like interesting. I don't really I honestly don't have an answer for that because I don't know what Ancelotti and co are gonna do. Are they gonna stick with the same formation that they were using last season? Are they going to change and suddenly morph into something else, like you said, going into a 4-3-3 with Rodrigo, Vinicius, and Mbappe? So I don't really, honestly, I don't have an answer for that. About the supposed interest from City, I think the only thing that makes you wonder is the fact that City are like they have very strong interest in Rodrigo. And I think the reason why they have chosen Rodrigo is because Rodrigo is not playing in his favorite position. He's not playing on the left wing. So I just have to see how Ancelotti adapts the whole thing and how he uses Rodrigo. For now, like in the preseason, sadly because of how because of the internationals and everything, we didn't really get to see much of them, and so we don't really have a clear idea of how Ancelotti is going to use them, especially when we have Mbappe and Bellingham. So it will be interesting. I mean, we could see Rodrigo playing through the center. We could see Rodrigo playing on the right. We could even see Rodrigo and Vinicius both playing on the left, like we saw in some games. And I think something important to remember is the fact that this season could almost end up with 70 games. And I think Ancelotti, in one of his press conferences during the summer, said that there's going to be a forced rest for players, forced breaks, where a period of time where they might not play just to keep them fresh. So I think I think there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of time available for everyone. So it's up to Rodrigo to decide how he takes those chances, how he manages to deliver on them, and how he manages to make himself an integral part of this team. The only thing that worries me is the fact that Arda Güler is knocking on the door, and we saw what brilliant.
So is Brahim.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think Brahim, I kind of see him in a 12th man role for this team, but Brahim, whatever role you give to him, he kind of always steps up and delivers. For me, the biggest threat for Rodrigo is Arda Güler, because after his preseason, how do you keep him out? But so the Ancelotti also has to figure out how he's going to manage to fit Güler into his plans, and how he's going to manage to fit Camavinga in his plans. Because if you're going with a 3-man midfielder who is the odd man out, who gets dropped, so there's going to be a lot of combinations in there. We saw with City, Julian Alvarez was playing a lot last season. I think he's one of their most used players, but he left because City weren't trusting him in the big moments. So when the big moments come and certain players don't get trusted, they might get unsettled and want to leave. So we don't really know how these things are going to turn out.
Farouk, your take, man, on Rodrigo. But you were pretty adamant that Rodrigo's time is coming to an end. But will this be it? His final litmus test, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I do think even if Real Madrid goes to 4-3-3, I think still with the post winger of Fede Valverde. I still just do not see how we fit both Vinicius and Kylian Mbappe as well as he go into the team. Of course, like Carlo is also, there's a reason he's been, coach for how many years and he's been so successful. So maybe they figure out something. Well, I think I'll just touch on what more ended this, with it's the called an example of Julian Alvarez. Of course, like different players, different profiles. But the point is, Julian Alvarez was, I think, the 4th most used player for Man City last year. But he didn't start the quarterfinals against us. He didn't start the final against United. And he didn't start the last 5 games where, of course, we know, they won the title ahead of us, I think, by 1 or 2 points, literally in the run-in. So that's the thing. He played that much, and I think he had 20 goals and 15 assists or something. Anyways, he was in double digits of both assists and goals. But the point is that he realized that, for me to take the next step and be the main man, it can be at this club, because they will always see me, as that player who can fit multiple positions. Either it's the 10 role, or the winger role, or the number 9. And I kind of feel like, in some ways, Rodrigo also is that kind of player. You think, okay, he can play centrally, he can play as a 9, he can play through the wings, both left and right. And as Muragi pointed out, how many times has Rodrigo actually played in his favorite position? Okay, he started in a different place and drifted there. You understand? So these kind of things combine to push him there.
But the BBC, Farouk, can they interchange? Or do you think that is a very realistic possibility? A very fluid front three?
Unfortunately, I do not think so. I do not think that we have that spine that we had for the BBC with these guys anymore. So I don't think that's possible. But again, one thing that's interesting is that Rodrigo didn't take the chance. And that's why I say last season was a chance for him to make a, for you to want to push a narrative, you have to be Rodrigo is undroppable.
Yeah.
But last season, Rodrigo showed us that, I'm sorry, but I can be dropped in instances, you understand? So this is the point. if Rodrigo had to take the claim last season, that's the point I was trying to make at the end of last year as well. Like at the end of last season, is that if Rodrigo had to take the claim that he was undroppable, then we will now be talking about, okay, like how can you recreate the BBC now with these guys? You understand? Yeah. So this is the thing, because let's not forget that it's not like we have an out-and-out number 9. Like there's a whole reason why the hashtag Pivot Gang was trending on social media as well, So there is this as well. So it's not like Kylian Mbappe is also an out-and-out 9 that, okay, these guys will play for like, no, it's different. So that's why I just feel like, playing as a two nines or two strikers with, Mbappe and Vinicius, which basically they're not 9, they're just roaming around to wherever they want to, stuff like that. So with Rodrigo, honestly, like it's really gonna be interesting to see how they start the season, but I just do not see a way where he except if he's content with being that third auxiliary utility man that just fills in any hole that you have here and there. And that's the thing. If you have 70 games a season, definitely he's bound to play 50 games as well. So if that's enough for him, that's again just I think it's a question of what are his ambitions and what does he want to achieve, which is football career.
That's a bleak spin on it, as optimistic that that the Rodriguez situation kind of forces me to be. I feel like whatever role Rodrigo is kind of bestowed upon with over the course of the season, he's gonna excel at it. Maybe not exactly a starting role. Who knows, right? He might turn it around. Like there is potential there. There is a clear player there. There is a winner there. The mentality is there. The technique is there. Rodrigo is a supremely talented player. But I feel like even from the bench, he can really contribute to this side, and he has shown on so many occasions throughout his career, at Madrid, that even off the bench, he's a real threat. So,
can I say something?
Yeah.
It's just directly related to your comment about like him being able to contribute from the bench. I kind of 100% agree with that, but the thing is that is the point, right? Julian Alvarez was also contributing from the bench. He was also playing a lot of minutes, but in key moments he wasn't being trusted, and he kind of got unhappy with that. So how long is Rodrigo going to be happy just getting coming off the bench and making an impact? At what time he says no, I want a starting role, and at what time does he want to leave? So for me, like Farouk said, last season was the perfect opportunity for him to step in, because Benzema was gone. If you remember correctly, in the 22-23 season, there was a lot of talk about him, learning from Benzema to play centrally. But last season, Ancelotti did not trust him centrally. And, it was Bellingham who was trusted centrally. And Rodrigo, even when he played centrally, he didn't really deliver what we expected of him. So this season is I think this season might end up being make or break for him. Not just because, Rodrigo might not take the next step. It's also because of the fact that the level of competition that we have has gone up. And at some point in time, you kind of have to give the ball to Golaire. For me personally, like everything is shown. And maybe if he deserves that chance, to show us that if he can be a guy for Real Madrid going forward. So Rodrigo, I think this season is possibly going to be make or break for him only because the level of competition that's coming. And I mean, we've talked about Golaire, we've talked about everybody, and we've not even touched upon Endrick. So Endrick is also coming in. At some point, he's also going to need game time. So this is the story about Real Madrid. When they started signing Brazilian teenagers, we knew that not everybody is going to pan out. Some people are, some people like Vinicius are going to go on and make a name for themselves. They're going to be undisputable. And Rodrigo right now is at a fork. He has to decide what path he's going to take.
I have a quick question. Mo, did you eventually go to Turkey?
Sorry?
Did you eventually go to Turkey? I remember we were talking about that. Because, we talked about Mbappe, he found a way to bring Arda into the equation. We talked about Toni Kroos, he found a way to bring Arda Güler. Now we're talking about men.
I mean, I've never hidden my admiration for the kids, so.
I don't know, man. Maybe you drank some of the Turkish Kool-Aid, man. In Turkey, I don't know.
Man, if Turkey wants me to give an honorary citizenship, I wouldn't say no.
One thing that I would add to what Mo said, the whole striker position and whatnot, like he showed himself kind of in glimpses that he can do kind of a false nine, sort of an inverted winger down the middle role, but he was never truly a centre forward, right? This might be a very simplistic take on it, a very might be a layman's perspective of how I see it. Football is a simple game, so I would like to look at it as plain as it is, right? In the modern game, at least, right? Like there have been teams where the false nine has kind of gotten its flowers, where certain players has come to the fore excelled. David Silva for Spain comes to mind. Messi for Barcelona comes to mind. But these guys are exceptional players, who in tight spaces can turn people on a dime, right? Rodrigo's not exactly that skilled. Vinicius, in a two-striker formation, kind of excelled because of his unmatched ability, on the ball, and especially his, blistering pace also kind of helps him out a bit. I feel like Rodrigo in that department at least kind of lags behind a bit. So, down the middle, he doesn't have the stature of a target man. Neither does he have the raw pace that Vinicius has or the raw trickery that Vinicius has. So it was always going to be a bit difficult for Rodrigo to play down the middle. The reason why I mentioned this is to bring Endrick into the, into the conversation, going into the season. Brilliant player. I didn't see much of him at Palmeiras. More used to watch a few games. But then I went back and watched a bit of his compilations. Surprisingly good in the air for someone who was 5'9", 5'8". Surprisingly well built for someone his age. Can hold himself well against some lanky defenders. Has good ball playing ability. Has an eye for goal. Decent enough positionally, but one thing I fear with Endrick, similarity to Rodrigo, is the fact that he wouldn't be able to play a lone striker role. Farouk, would you agree with that? Just going off what you have seen from Endrick so far, at least in preseason.
Man, I can't make enough of a comment for him, because the game I watched. Brazil against Uruguay, and that was absolute. It was an absolute shit show from Madrid. But then, of course, it's something that's to be expected. Like, I mean, you're playing against the Uruguayans, and literally what they do is the dark art of defending and all that. And in that game, as well, changed his whole tactics, and they just became the Uruguay of old again. So honestly, I haven't seen enough from Madrid to be able to make a comment of if he can play as a lone striker or not. I don't know if Mo might be better, suited to that question.
Okay, just I think. Right, David, Ronaldo, right? Brazilian Ronaldo. He's a player that I used to love watching growing up as a kid. He said something about Vinicius when about how Brazilian football treats its talents. He said maybe the likes of Vinicius don't get the proper coaching in Brazil, because when they came to Europe, they didn't know how to anticipate certain things, certain techniques of theirs wasn't that great. But at Real Madrid, it took time for them to, improve on that, develop that, and now we see where Vinicius is. For me, personally, I see some of that with Endrick as well. I mean, I'm probably going to get a little bit of, hate for saying this, but Endrick disappointed me in the preseason. I don't really care what happened with the Brazilian national team, because, honestly, that's a whole different, that's a whole different box of, that's a whole different Pandora's box, if I may say it like that. For him to come to this club and put on the performance that he did in the preseason, I wasn't impressed. He had the opportunity to show us his talent, and I think he didn't show the complete repertoire that he has, but he showed us glimpses that the talent is there, but it needs developing. At Palmeiras, I was kind of impressed with him, but then you also have to remember that at Palmeiras sometimes he was playing on the right wing, so it wasn't necessarily him playing centrally. Whereas, coming to Europe, first of all, he had to adjust to the pace of the game, which I kind of felt that he was a little out of step. He kind of felt like a step slower to me. So I think that is something that he has to get up to speed on. And the second thing is his decision making, and his touch needs to improve. And I think Endrick has all the potential in the world. Like you said, he's shown glimpses of it. He's shown it with his positioning, intelligence, and everything. And even in the games that, there is one situation where I would like to, I don't exactly remember the opponent, but I think it was against Chelsea, where he combined with Rudiger brilliantly around the box, and Rudiger gets into a brilliant position to, lay the ball back. But Endrick doesn't make that run.
Yeah. So he doesn't make the run near post. Yeah.
So those kind of things, they need to improve, So, but for me personally, the thing is he's at the right club. he's at a club which knows how to develop these guys. And the thing is, like, unlike Barcelona, where we've seen what's happening with Vitor Roque, right? So he's not getting any chance, and they're not even trusting him. They're saying this guy's poor, let's just sell him and whatever, and they're trying to flog him off to Saudi. But with Endrick, I think at Real Madrid he's going to get a lot of time. He's going to train with the best players in the world, and I think if he gets enough time and if he gets enough trust, I'm pretty sure he's going to develop well. And when he reaches a certain age, the competition that he has wouldn't be there, so he'll have like the complete freedom to take that role. So I have high hopes from Endrick, but I don't have high hopes from Endrick going into this season. I think he's going to be a factor, but he's not going to be that big of a factor. The youngster that I like, okay, Farouk is going to get angry. Like, Farouk is going to make fun of me again. But for me, the youngster that I have high hopes from right now going to the next season is Guler.
I have high hopes on the kid as well. You mentioned he had a good pre-season, but people forget his Euros. He was sublime.
Actually, Sinead, before we jump to the topic, I just want to ask you guys a quick question. I do remember Vinicius playing for the Castilla, but did Rodrigo also play for the Castilla?
Yeah, Rodrigo also played for Castilla.
So do you guys think it's better for Endrick to play for them, or is it better to just have that direct jump?
For me personally, I think he should have gone to Castilla. But I think the club is not going to send him, and one of the conditions to signing him was the fact that he wasn't going to be sent to Castilla. He's going to start with the first team. So
there's plenty of time. He's just on 18. We got to give him a solid 2 years to kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I think we need to be patient with him and we need to give him time, because I truly believe that he has the talent to get to where we want him to get to. But he just needs time, because some of the things that there are some kinks in his game that he needs to work on. And I think Real Madrid, if we show him the patience, he's going to work on that, and he's going to be a gem in the future.
I mean, I don't want to be like the skeptical person as usual, doom and gloom bullshit, But the point is this: like, we saw how it took Vinicius a lot of time to actually develop to what he developed. Of course, like for Rodrigo, it was a bit faster. But like, don't you guys think? Because what more rightly pointed out about the fact that, like, okay, maybe the coaching in Brazil is different because the style of play is different. When you come to Europe, like, the reason why Vini and Rodrigo had those chances was because, let's not forget, Jovic flopped, Hazard flopped, Bale was injured. Basically, there was a vacuum. Right now, we're talking about even Rodrigo might not get a chance to play. Do you guys think, though, like, it's the right move for Endrick to be in this situation?
Farouk, I disagree with you. We didn't say Rodrigo's not going to get a chance to play. We said Rodrigo's not going to get a chance to play in the important games.
Okay, yeah, that's what I meant. Like,
so with 70 games, with 70 games, I do think Endrick is going to get game time to play. Maybe not in the important games, but I do think he's going to get some game time. Zidane used to say, playing 20 minutes at Real Madrid is better than playing at like 90 minutes with any other club.
Simple as.
He's going to get a lot of chances in training, and he's going to get some game time in, because of how long the season is, and we can't anticipate what level of injuries we come into. I mean, we all saw last season. So for me, I think Endrick will get game time, but the development is like, we have to see how he develops. So as you were saying.
But let's be honest, guys. We are kind of making this assessment going off where we see these players, coming in and going out throughout the course of the season, right? We may never know. They might get 2 fringe appearances over the course, of the opening round of Copa del Rey fixtures. I don't know, Supercopa, Spania. They might have a good, substitute appearance, but then they might take off. You never know. The trajectory, or the good fortunes the season can bring, especially in terms of minutes, injuries, rotations. You never know. It's an equation that will only answer itself, over the course of the next 8 or 9 months. So there's every chance, like what Mo said, 70 games a season. Endrick, he'll definitely get minutes. Tail ends of even prominent games. I feel like if you're winning a Champions League group stage match by 3 goals, let's say, right? He might make the pitch for the last 5 minutes. Who knows? He might get a goal or 2. That's how Arda Güler kind of towards the tail end of last season. In games that didn't even matter, kind of came to the forefront as someone who can be relied on, right? So the the script is there to be written.
And another thing
for
that
these
I,
guys.
now that you mentioned Arda and Farouk is not going to jump on me. Another thing that you can mention is the fact what Tony Cruz said in the press, about Arda. He said like this guy didn't just want to learn on the pitch; he also wanted to learn how we played off of it, how we conducted ourselves before the training, after the training, and everything.
Yeah.
So it is up to Hendrik to figure out how their experienced players are conducting themselves, how they're approaching training, and everything to learn from them. I think the aspects of those aspects that Arda learned, earlier in the season, that is what served him well towards the end of the season, and in the Euros. And now that he's come back, everybody's talking about how he's developed physically more, how he looks more ready. So how he looks.
No, not PR ready though.
Yeah,
like what Sahil mentioned.
How ready he is. Like even in the press conference, everybody's saying that he's better prepared to deal with the rigors of La Liga season right now than he was last season. So I think these kind of things, Hendrik has the opportunity to learn in the training, and all it depends is on his attitude. And I think the kid has a good attitude, so he's going to do fine.
We touched upon Goller, Hendrik. There's a few comments regarding Hendrik that I would like to kind of read quickly. Big up Yuri, big up Ashik. Yuri was actually mentioning don't sleep on Hendrik. Internet trolls are laughing at him, but I believe he's going to cook this season. Are you guys concerned about the lack of depth in defense? We're going to get on it in a bit, especially at the CP position after the John injury and the left back position. Ashik was mentioning Rodrigo's talent isn't doubtful, isn't a doubt, but he is not a killer. He hasn't shown that assassin's instinct. He has done that in the past. Let's be honest, Ashik. Me and you, we had some very fierce conversations, debates, especially during the Copa tournament, regarding what Rodrigo brought to the table. But I still believe, we should give him this season.
I just say that if you think Rodrigo doesn't have the killer instinct, he wouldn't have scored those goals against City. For me, Rodrigo's performance the last time, especially his inability to score goals last season, was kind of a disappointment in key moments. Yeah. But I still think Rodrigo is pretty, if he gets the right chances and if he has the right attitude and if he goes with the right intentions, I'm pretty sure he's going to deliver. But all it comes down to is the fact that you don't know what kind of chances the player is going to get, what kind of a role the team is going to play him in. So all of those things remain to be seen.
Yuri was mentioning Hendrik is very raw still, but I think he will cook coming off the bench. Right, she was mentioning I did enjoy a debate about Rodrigo. I didn't enjoy it much because we all knew where it was going. When the debate started, but right, CB, right, CB situation. I think is much higher on the priority list compared to the Mbappe news and whatnot. But the CB situation is kind of out of our hands. That is why I waited, almost an hour into the pod to kind of bring it up, because we know where the club stand with transfers. We know that they're not going to twist anyone's arms. We know that they're not gonna, basically go out of their way to sign someone who they think is worth it for a price that they don't think, is worth it. So, so many names have been, thrown around. Laporte, Hummels, Lenny Yoro was in the equation. There's a reason why we never covered it on this channel, by the way, again. Because I deep down knew that, we are never going to be pushed into making a decision, especially regarding the price. And he went to Manchester United, and rest is unfortunate.
If I can just say this, we kind of mentioned Lenny Yoro going back into December.
Yeah.
So I mean,
we mentioned it, but
we did talk about it.
We didn't do a special on it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That is what I meant over preseason, because it was one of the most talked about.
That's actually a thing I'm very proud about. The fact that we kind of broke the fact Real Madrid were interested in Lenny Yoro before most of the people were talking about it. Most people didn't even know who the guy was. So let's just highlight that.
100%. You are an ITK, right? In the Madrid
tier zero,
tier zero. That's what he calls himself. It's not his fans. It's not me. He calls it himself. But
what can I say? Farouk is rubbing off on me.
Yeah, Farouk's self-confidence is kind of infectious. Not gonna lie. But Farouk, bro, talk to me. CB situation of 2024 is equal to the striker situation of 2024. Do you agree? or disagree?
Well, I kind of disagree with that, man. Because I think the point is I mean, Joselu was there even when he was out. You could still play Brahim Diaz alongside one of the other. Because let's not forget, we had a situation where Vinicius was out, Jude Bellingham was out, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We still had people perform. But right now, you just think about it, Rudiger goes, man, and we're done.
Yeah.
Rudiger goes and we're done. And it's quite interesting. We have to rely on Vallejo. I don't know if the club is actually relying on him, or if I don't know if we're just hallucinating, or they're assuming that we can play Chouameni and Kamavinga as centre backs. I don't know what's the pecking order there, but I just want to assume that someone as smart as Carlo Ancelotti would not rely on someone like Jesus Vallejo. He had this promise, but that was 2017, 2018, we're in 2024. That's past it. So it's a really, really bleak situation, honestly. I don't know, but I just kind of feel if United is buying Matthias Ellis for 45 million, the lead is 25. I think he has a lot of value as well. It's not really that bad of a player, in my opinion. Could have been
very injury prone for my liking.
I mean, Euro is already out for 3-4 months already before he
gets
the ball. So
there
is that. Of course, I agree with you that also the lead also is also quite injury prone. But then he's an able body at least. He's not injured, not yet at least.
Yeah,
but it's quite bleak, man. Honestly, the whole CV situation is quite bleak, and I do think that we talk about the youngster getting an ACL, but I don't know if you guys actually think that Carlo will actually play that guy. I think Carlo would have played Kamavinga, Chouameni, Luka Modric, I don't know who is Dani Ceballos and all those guys are centre backs before actually he comes to that. But yeah, it looks really bad. And the reason why is because even the midfield is even now more depleted. Last year you had Toni Kroos there, so you could drop you could drop Chouameni into a CB situation. But now, as I highlighted well enough, we do not even have Toni Kroos anymore. So what happens then? You play Chouameni as a centre back, and then what? You play Kamavinga and Fred Valverde as a double pivot, or what do you do? You throw Luka Modric into that situation. I don't know, by the way, Luka Modric is going to be 40 years of age, very soon. So that's quite interesting how that's going to be. But we're one suspension or one injury away from shitting the fan now. The good news of Nacho Fernandez, though.
Yeah, Nacho. We did touch upon it extensively. That missing out on keeping Nacho for another year is going to be one of the biggest mistakes that we have dug ourselves into. I mean, we didn't have a choice, but the club really doesn't force anyone's hand, especially the players' hands, because if they don't want to be here, if they don't feel like they want to continue, they're allowed to leave. But my question again, just like last season, just like many seasons, that has gone by, is the fact that when it's such a critical position on the pitch, why isn't there, the proactiveness that is needed? That has been the MO for one of the biggest clubs in the world for the large part of the century, where they go and get who they want, right? There's this passive mode in the transfer market has yielded us, good profits, has kind of, we have kind of dodged a few mighty bullets because of that. But as technical as a position, as the centre back position, I just can't wrap my head around the decision of kind of hanging back. But Sid did speak to Jesus Bengochea, who is kind of an inside man of the club, and he did mention on camera that the club is kind of actively looking out for a centre back, but they don't want to kind of announce it to the public and make it kind of super evident and kind of rise the prices of their targets. I get it; it's a sensible decision. We have gone down that route before, but this kind of radio silence is very concerning. Chouameni, is he the answer at centre back long term? Is Mendy an answer who has played there probably in the back three? I'm not sure, but I've heard that he has played a centre back for a bit. He's 2-footed. He is decently good at basically kind of having the IQ to play centre back. But I do worry about his aerial abilities, especially from crosses. But Mo, what's your take on all of this, man? The centre back situation. Are we kind of looking again at a season where Carlo has to do some juju to get us through?
So as you know, I'll say something. I was so deeply saddened by the way you were trying to scratch the bottom of the barrel to figure out who could play center back if injuries happen.
Yeah.
Going to Mendy and Farouk saying that Modric and everybody. He left out Fran Garcia for some reason, but moving on from that.
Fran Garcia, by the way, very decent in preseason.
Decent?
Very exciting. Yeah.
Decent? Wow, okay.
Yeah.
We have different opinions on that.
I mean, defensively, we all know.
I mean,
but going forward, I was happy.
We'll get to it when we get on the other things. I think, okay, there are two aspects I want to approach this as. First is from the fan aspect. I kind of understand why everybody is worried about it, and I'm worried about it as well. I think right now, Farouk asked the question, what is the pecking order? The pecking order is Rudiger, Militao, and Tchouaméni. Vallejo is like pretty deep down, so you don't have to worry about that. I could see, even somebody from Castilla playing before Vallejo does, because whenever I've seen Vallejo play in the preseason, I was kind of disappointed. But moving on from that, I think there was an expectation in the board that Joan Martinez was going to get some sort of a role in the club. But his ACL injury probably does change a little bit of things. Will we sign anyone? I don't know. The thing is, like, for Real Madrid, these negotiations with Leny Yoro were going for it wasn't just 6 months. It was like they have been talking to him for a long time, and they had identified him, and they had an agreement with him. An agreement whereby he would come to Real Madrid either this season or next season. And they were kind of surprised when suddenly things changed and he decided that, he's going to go to Manchester United. I think what changed in the interim is the fact that I think sometime around earlier this year, Jorge Mendes became his agent. So that is something that kind of changed the situation around. So, the agreement went out the window. There was some pressure about, Lille decided, it was Lille, right? Yeah, so they decided that he's not going to play if he doesn't go to the club that they want him to go to. If he kind of stays on it, they don't get the fee. And I think some people in his entourage kind of pressured him, blah, blah, blah. Whatever happened, and Euro is not on the table anymore. For Real Madrid, I think this strategy about going for the players they want stemmed back from what happened with Hazard and Jovic. They were kind of rushed into those signings, and they decided they needed to make the signing. Let's just buy the best player in the market. Didn't work out. Real Madrid wasted a lot of money, and the understanding is like Real Madrid cannot do that anymore. We were talking about how the strategy has yielded a lot of profits and everything. They should be able to spend money and get whatever they want. I don't think Real Madrid are in that position anymore. If you look at last season, Guardiola cost like 90 million euros. I don't think Real Madrid is going to spend that amount of money.
That's the thing.
Real Madrid is going to spend that amount of money on a centre back, and I think Real Madrid do have a list of targets that they are going to pursue. Going into especially next season. I think I'll just say like Bastoni is one of those people that Real Madrid have been targeting for a while. It's not just like, just because they lost out on Euro, they're suddenly going to Bastoni, but Bastoni is a player that they're going to target maybe going next summer, the summer after. At some point in time, Real Madrid are going to be interested in them. So those are kind of things that Real Madrid are planning with. Now, if you go and sign players like Matthias de Ligt is good. I mean, I was a big fan of him, and I mentioned it about him in the last season's this time last year we were doing the preseason review. I kind of mentioned Matthias de Ligt as a potential signing for Real Madrid. But the thing is, like, what I've noticed over the season is the fact that not only is he injury prone, I don't think that's a big thing about him, but the issue is like he's kind of slow. And what we've noticed at Bayern that he wasn't giving the level of ball progression that Madrid need from their centre back to be, because right now we have a Rudiger and Militao, none of them are like good ball progressors. So we need a centre back who could do what Alaba used to do. I think Bastoni kind of fits that bill, so they were potentially looking at him. Leny Yoro was like one of those can't miss sort of targets that Real Madrid had in mind. So because they don't know how long Rudiger is going to continue maintain this level. Because like if Rudiger gives us what none of us expect Rudiger to be at the level that he was at last season, do we? He's probably going to be somewhere around near that, or maybe a regression. We don't really expect him to continue at that same level. So Rudiger at some point in time is going to decline, and you need a replacement there. For Real Madrid, they don't want to block by signing somebody hastily. So I think that is why Real Madrid aren't being as proactive as you expect them to be in the centre back market. As fans, do we want that? No. As a fan, I don't like it. I think Real Madrid are going, playing a risky game, because we only kind of have three players who are going to be playing centre back for us, and Militao, Rudiger, and Tchouaméni. And we don't know what Alaba's situation is, because Alaba was kind of expected to be back by now, but he hasn't even trained on the pitch. He's back in, I think he's back in the gym or doing whatever his recovery thing is, but his recovery has been delayed based on the news that we're reading. I don't really know anything that's going on. Yeah, so based on the news, I think Alaba probably, expect him back at the end of the year or something like that. John Martinez probably could have had an opportunity to do it when we missed out on an Euro. Now with injured, let's see what happens. I think Aymeric Laporte is a name to keep your eye on, especially if he is able to come on a free transfer. If he doesn't come on a free transfer, I don't think Real Madrid is going to go for him. Names like
he has to basically ask the club to terminate his contract or something, right?
Yeah, Al Nassr, he has to, not only does he have to ask them to terminate his contract, he also have to give up his wages, because they're not going to do it for free, and Real Madrid are not going to pay him the money he's getting at Al Nassr. Like, no chance.
Yeah. Why would anyone do it?
So I think Laporte is kind of unsettled in Saudi, so he does want to leave. So it could potentially happen. Okay. It might not happen. Nobody knows. But for Real Madrid, they're playing a risky game from my point of view as a fan. But I think this is the game we're going to play. And this is the Real Madrid's defensive lineup. Unless and until a special market opportunity appears.
Laporte, I can't understand how the shawarmas, broasteds and Lambos, and the fully air-conditioned shitters in Saudi Arabia doesn't work out for you, mate. But good luck with that. CB situation is kind of a foresight that is not going to get resolved anytime soon.
I think somebody mentioned in the comment. I think it's Yuri. He mentioned Jacobo Ramon, so I think he could be a potential guy to look at if things don't work out. I think
I've seen a bit of him. Does he excite you more? He doesn't excite me much.
I think he was pretty good for Juvenil when he was playing under Arbeloa. So he's kind of good prospect. But I think him and Raul Asensio are like two players. I think they kind of have an eye on to see if they can do something this season. But yeah, I mean, Juan Martinez is the one that really excited people. But like Farouk said, I wouldn't expect Ancelotti to trust youngsters that much. So for me personally, going to season, I think Real Madrid, we can just say at this point in time, Real Madrid have like 3 center backs plus Vallejo if you count him in. So that's going to be Madrid's lineup. And just to add about Nacho, I think the thing is like Nacho, Real Madrid couldn't do anything because his contract was ending. So it was either him renewing or not renewing. Real Madrid, like they offered him a contract like long back.
Yeah.
He had an offer from Madrid. Like it was just up to him to decide. And the thing is, like they gave him a long time to decide if he wanted to continue. Even going deep into June, we weren't sure what Nacho was going to do. So he had a wide latitude from the club. So I wouldn't really blame the club on that situation.
Yeah. Yuri was mentioning, I'm not only worried by the CP situation. I think our left back position is worrying me as much. Mendy is injury prone and Fran Garcia is nowhere near the level of Real Madrid, in my opinion. Left back situation. I read Bill reporting that Davis would be let go for 25 million or something. But Bill, like, what is their reputation level? Are they tier 100 or something?
You have to talk about the journalists. It's like difficult to say.
What was that? I didn't catch that.
You have to mention who was the journalist who reported that. Otherwise, it's difficult to say.
I just read Bild. I don't remember the journalist, but I don't know, man. Davis' situation might not really happen this season.
I think personally, if they're willing to let him go for 25 million, you could see it happen. But you don't know. And for Fran Garcia, like I know I don't really want to go too harsh on him because he's a player I really liked and I had high hopes for. But this preseason, I am kind of disappointed from him. You mentioned that he was good going forward, but the thing is, like, he was crossing the ball to nobody. So personally, especially given the fact that we've lost Joselu is not there anymore. I think it takes away Fran Garcia's best quality in attack, that is like crossing the ball in, because we're not going to have like people who are going to be heading the ball in. Those target strikers. What we have right now is players who are going to emphasize on connections. And I'm like, I mean, last season it kind of showed that Fran Garcia wasn't up to it in those tight spaces. This season, in the preseason, he hasn't shown me anything to consider that situation.
That's why, against you guys' opinion, I would think Mendy is better suited in link-up play down the left.
I'm sorry.
Here we go
against our what?
Against you guys' opinion. Where did you guys? I think it was you and Farouk that argued that.
We said that Mendy isn't world class. Like, you wanted to put him in the top tier, legendary tier kind of thing.
No, it wasn't just that. Some time along the line, during the course of last season, you guys mentioned that he doesn't really.
Who is the player of this course? It's Fran Garcia, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're comparing Fran Garcia and Mendy, then I think we don't need to continue the conversation anymore.
Neither of them is good in tight spaces. Mendy gives you a lot in defense that Fran Garcia never does. So that is the difference.
Fair. Right. I'll respect it. And continue, because we'll have plenty of time to dive into this.
I just want to clarify this, right? I'm not saying Mendy is shit. I'm not saying Mendy doesn't deserve to play in Madrid. I'm not saying that Mendy is like another good player.
I didn't say that. Holy shit! I didn't say
Mendy
that.
Mendy is a good solution for what Madrid needs at this point in time, even perhaps better than Davies. But I'm just gonna say his work in attack, his output in attack leaves a lot to be desired.
His situation is the only one that seems to be not resolved, right? Especially in terms of renewals.
I think he has agreed to a 3-year renewal.
Right, but it isn't official yet, right? But
I mean, Madrid is like they haven't really done official announcements of renewals in a long time. So.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, even Modric and Lucas, like I think they announced it like way into July. So.
Okay. Fair. Right. Right. Modric, right? Just slightly touching upon it. We all know what his season is going to look like. Again, a bit of rotational minutes, probably like we saw last season. I hope I'm gonna again vouch for him that he gets some good minutes towards the end of games. That is crying out for someone to make a difference. He can step in and weave his magic. But I heard Carlo was mentioning, he probably could play in a pivot like what Kroos did. But I think it's just a very glossed over PR, statement by Carlo. What do you guys think about that, Farouk? Do you think that Modric can fit a pivot?
I think it just depends in certain games, like maybe he might try that, but I just do not think like that's a plan to like play, Luka Modric as that. I just do not see that. And I just, I share your sentiment what you were saying. I just think, it's for Luka Modric is just, coming and having an impact in those games. It's no longer about, like starting and dominating games like it was in the past. And I think it's unfair to even expect that from him at this point in time. Yeah. So of course he's going to start games. He's going to start certain games, and maybe, they might try to put him in that, deeper role as we saw with Kroos in certain games. But I just do not think like that's, the overarching role that that Luka is going to have towards the season.
Vasquez more. I was very impressed with him in preseason. Again, I'm not sure where you stand, but I think it's a renewal.
Contract year Vasquez is like a brilliant player. So this season again he's going to be a contract year player, and again I expect good things from him.
Fair point. Right,
I think do we have Dani? Sorry, I just want to ask, for how long is Dani Carvajal's contract?
I think Carvajal's contract is expiring at the end of this season, but they want to renew
right?
him. Yeah, I think they want to renew him for 2 years.
He's getting a 2-year renewal.
I thought they had a policy of 1 year.
Yeah, I think they are going to relax it for him.
Oh.
I'm not sure, because nothing has happened, so things can change.
So
this is just early rumors.
Depends on this season, maybe.
Yeah, this is just early rumors.
How well he performs.
So we're not getting Trent then?
I don't know. We could get Trent.
Agent Jude, man, should not fall my hand, man. Come on, I went and I supported England throughout the whole shitty tournament, man. Agent Jude, I think should pay me, you should repay me by getting us Trent, man.
I'm gonna have to really, bite my tongue to not, say anything bad about Trent. It's gonna take some meditative, yoga to really, get over the fact that he would play for us eventually, and I don't want that to be a reality. But Farouk, is on the other side of the spectrum.
No, actually, the point is, I do think, I kind of feel like our midfield is getting to becoming more workman-like without that, So I kind of feel like a player like Trent Alexander-Arnold can be a very important piece. I don't know. I mean, ideally, I'd prefer Reece James. Honestly, ideally, if Reece James could actually keep himself fit. Ideally, I think Reece James is a better player, but I just feel like, depending on teams and depending on situations, and I do think with what Moaz like it, with the fact that we lost Toni Kroos and then Luka Modric is going out, I think a player like that could be interesting. But then let's see. Of course, I share your issues about the defensive, stuff. Okay, yeah, it's like he's a ghost on defense, but yeah, like he's not, up to the standard that you would expect of, compared to what he is going for. Like going back, it's a bit, less a little bit to be desired as well. But anyways, it is what it is, man.
Fair enough, guys. The treble, is it finally happening, Mo?
No.
It is not even a question, yeah, Farooq.
I mean, the point is just like, I would say at least since I started watching Real Madrid, I think we've been favorites once or twice, and it was 2016, 2017 when we won, and we went to 2017, 2018. I think we lost the title by 18 points, and, we won just the UCL. So, okay, just the UCL is not just, but like anyways, we won the UCL only, and we weren't infallible anymore. So I think, again, we go into the situation where literally we are going to be favorites in every match we go into. So I think that's gonna, fall our hands.
That's a pressure the club, sometimes doesn't really deal well with. But go on.
Yeah, I just want to say, ask me this question at the midway point of the season. I'll tell you my answer to that. Maybe I might have changed my mind. But for me personally, I think you have to keep in mind the fact that Madrid haven't retained the league since when? It was like 2007-8. We haven't retained it since then. Whenever we have won Copa del Rey, I don't remember us winning the league in that season. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have trouble remembering that.
League and Copa double hasn't happened in our lifetimes, I don't think.
Yeah,
it's.
So I mean, personally, I'd let the Copa go. Maybe Barcelona can win it, as long as you win the rest of the stuff.
Come on, Atleti bought themselves into the most feared striking duo in Europe for what? For the Copa, right? It's for the Copa del Rey. Let them win it. Let them parade it.
Yeah, I mean, Atleti has like strengthened massively. There's Sorloth now, Alvarez, Griezmann, and like who else? I don't know.
Gallagher, Guerra.
Yeah. Javi Guerra is not there. He's not coming, I think.
Oh, Javi Guerra was linked to Atleti?
Yeah, their transfer fell through, I think.
Okay. He is a real prospect. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it on talking points for preseason. Let's kind of slowly head into Atalanta. Decent side. I've had a soft admiration for how they have went about their business over the course of the last 5-6 years. Humble stomping grounds to the pinnacle, playing in the Champions League. We met them 3 years ago. It was a very interesting tie. If not for Mendy's goal, we were looking at sticky waters then. We were still in kind of a transition, but Atalanta, whenever I've seen them, has given themselves a good account of themselves. Bet Liverpool en route to the Champions League final. Bet probably the most informed team in Europe by Leverkusen 3-0, and a proper thrashing at that. I was watching that game live and I was texting the group chat. I don't know if you guys remember that the Bayer Leverkusen players looked shell-shocked what they were witnessing. They couldn't cope up with the energy that Atalanta brought to the table. That has happened for a lot of sides that have faced Atalanta. They might not be the most consistent team to keep racking up wins week in, week out, but they are a team with a clear identity and a dog-like fighting spirit. I don't really respect the man. Their coach, I forgot his name again. It's so difficult. Gasperini.
Gian Piero Gasperini.
Gian Piero Gasperini. But he seemed to be surely enigmatic enough to lift his team. A mid-table side to punch above their weight season in, season out. They do have a few prospects. Di Catalare comes to mind. Scamacca is injured. Lookman, who had a brilliant Europa League final performance, scoring a hat-trick and whatnot. They have bought in a few signings, if I'm not mistaken. They're kind of in a muddy situation with Coop Miners, who is one of their key players, who can play as an 8, as a 10. I think Gasperini kind of talked to the press, a couple of days earlier, mentioning that he has kind of down tools as he wants to play for UA. So that is kind of a shocker for Atlanta, and I would be very surprised to see him start. And I would go as far as to say, without Coop Miners, it really makes our job a lot easier to navigate. But talk to me, Mo, have you seen much of Atalanta, and what are your impressions on them?
I haven't seen much of Atlanta. I'm sorry to say that. The only guy,
but hearsay, and over the course of the years, what they represent as a team.
Based on hearsay, I don't want to make a fool of myself because I don't know much about it, honestly. But yeah, I think a couple of things that you mentioned really caught that I remember is like De Ketelaere used to be a really exciting talent before he went to Milan, and then him going to Atlanta was like he couldn't make a name for himself, but then he went to Atlanta, and now he's suddenly getting back into that same level of. What is the exact word? He's getting the same level of notoriety that he was getting before. People are looking again at him as as a potential player who could probably play for the bigger teams, down the years. And I think that is kind of like Atalanta's MO. They kind of find players who aren't getting the level of notoriety that they used to. Players who people have given up on. They take them and they build them back up, and they have had this brilliant team, like you said, who had a brilliant Europa League run last season, beating the likes of Liverpool, beating Leverkusen when nobody expected them to. So I think definitely it's going to be an interesting matchup. But without Scamacca, I don't know, what to expect from them because their number 9 is gone. So I think when number 9s aren't there, teams really do tend to struggle on the pitch. I don't know what their substitution situation, like their bench strength, their depth is like to replace him. So it will be interesting to see how they adapt to that situation. And overall, I think for I would just say this, for our players, Rodrigo, Vinicius, Mbappe, they haven't had enough time to play together. They haven't had enough of a preseason to prepare, so it's not going to be an easy game. It's definitely going to be a game where we don't go full strength. So Atlanta definitely do have a chance.
They have for midfield strength. They have one of the best. In Europe. He's kind of a bit underrated. Mario Pasalic. I'm a huge fan. Of us for a large part of the last 3-4 years. He is a very adept midfielder in playing a lot of positions. They just bought in Nicolo Zaniolo on loan for 6 million from Galatasaray. So they do have a fair few options over there. Martin de Roon, a veteran.
Did Sunet disappear, or is it just me?
Did Sunet disappear?
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah, I think he froze off. I think
Sunet became a snowman. Well, Farouk, I think both of us kind of gave our opinions. What's yours?
Actually, the point, we can hear you.
Yeah, the snowman is alive.
Okay. Yeah. Go on, Farouk.
Yeah, I was just gonna, point out to the fact that you guys were talking about, the absence of Gianluca Scamacca, man. I actually don't like him as a striker. And interestingly, the thing about Scamacca and
don't even start.
Actually, Scamacca until the game against Liverpool actually had a shit season for Atlanta last year, and actually he wasn't played a lot. The game at Anfield, he went and they just they bamboozled Liverpool at Anfield, and all of a sudden he became the darling of Europe. But actually, in their important games, actually Scamacca has not actually started. That's interesting. They've played literally almost they played with Lukman. They played with if I'm not mistaken, De Ketelaere as well. As a false 9 or something like that, and shit stuff like that. But it's not. I think even Miranchuk has played. I think also maybe not as a false 9, but across the forward line. But they played with different players actually. So I think for them the loss of Scamacca, of course, as an option, it's going to be important. But I don't think it's that vital. It's not going to be that key, honestly, in the whole thing. And I think the thing about Atlanta is that you know what you're going to get, even if they lose or if they win. It's just that constant pressure, that constant pressing. So it's going to be quite interesting to see, especially when it's the continuation of the season, how our players will be able to answer that. And also especially as Sunil mentioned, with the absence of Cook Miners, maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. We don't know. But it's most likely looks like he's going to go to to UEFA for big money. So what they do with that also, it's something that's going to be interesting. But
how old is Scoop Miners? Scoop Miners is 26. Yeah, he's he's kind of in his prime. Yeah. Yuri was asking earlier. I got a question about the game of Wednesday. If you guys were Carlo, what would be a starting 11? We would get into it surely, Yuri, in a bit. He was also mentioning Scamacca has torn his ACL. Ashi was mentioning we are going to make Atalanta look like Atlanta. You mean Atlanta, the MLS side, right? Yeah. But yeah, man, Atlanta, they have made a good account of themselves. Scalvini, one of the prospects of Italian football, is a centre back that I really admire.
Didn't Scalvini get injured or something?
Yeah, I think Scalvini also tore his ACL. I don't think he's going to play as well. He tore his ACL just before the Euros.
Yeah.
And actually,
I think you guys are right.
Atlanta and their fans are really passionate because I think around 40 kilometers from Milan. So literally, Milan has Inter and AC. So when you see anyone supporting, actually because they're in a small town called
Bergamo, right?
Yeah. So when you see anyone supporting those guys, they're hardcore supporters. And I don't know if you guys actually have ever seen their stadium, but they built a world-class stadium. It's crazy good. They're one of the few Italian teams that actually has its own stadium. I think
I've heard that
3 years back or something like that. It's a really, really nice stadium, and honestly, they have a very, very strong, and passionate fan base. And even I recall, last year they had people were actually naming their kids after Kurt Miners and Lukman and those guys and stuff like that. It was quite interesting what will happen, when they won the Europa League again. Actually, especially
first ever European title.
Exactly, first ever European title. Actually, it was quite interesting, especially after they defeated Liverpool. That's when the hype really started big time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's.
But I didn't expect them to beat Leverkusen, not that convincingly, at least. It was an absolute shocker. But some guys stick out. Rafael Toloi has been around for God knows how long. Kolasinac, the infamous Ozil bodyguard. They signed Ben Godfrey from Everton.
I think for Madrid, Kolasinac is always going to be the guy who injured Hesse. So.
Oh yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
But yeah.
I think Ashik has put some interesting comments. He says that one way to beat Italian teams is to break the raw spaghetti in half before the game. Trust me, it will do the job. I don't know, Farouk. Do you think it will do the job? You are the Italian in our midst.
It definitely will do the job. But the point is, all of the players we are highlighting right now are not Italian, so it really doesn't.
Maybe
look, man.
Maybe it will throw Gasperini off his game. Huh?
Yeah, definitely Gasperini is gonna go crazy, but then that's it. That's his natural statement. I think you'd rather cook spaghetti the right way so he calms down, so he doesn't go crazy. It goes crazy.
Is Lookman Nigerian? Is he Jamaican? Farouk, do you know?
He's British-born Nigerian, if you can call
British-born Nigerian.
Who's British-born Nigerian? Lookman.
Yeah.
Lookman.
Oh, okay.
He played for us at the AFCON. Actually, he was our best player ahead of Victor Osimhen. He's actually had a good year this year. He's had a really good year this year actually, because he was really good at AFCON as well.
Farouk, now that you bring up the guy who is in your entourage, what do you think about Osimhen this season?
Yeah, man, that's why I'm really, really surprised how people are really able to pay 65 million for what's he called, Dominic Solanke, and 90 million for Julian Alvarez, and someone thinks 120 million is too much for Victor Osimhen. I mean, that's really crazy, honestly.
So, is he going to stick around at Napoli?
Nah, they actually reduced it. They're asking for less.
Okay.
Because he has a release clause of around, I think, 125, 130 million euros. And no one wants to pay that. And also the thing about it is actually he signed a new contract as well. So that's the thing. I don't know how they also did their stuff, but he signed a new contract with a release clause. So the idea was that he's gonna get a pay rise, and they're gonna a release clause so that both him and Napoli, it's a win-win for them. You understand? With the expectation that someone was gonna come in and pay. So they were expecting the British clubs to come and pay. United went and got Lisa, and right now. Arsenal doesn't look like they're going to pay. Chelsea has gone with Omidron.
80 million for Højlund.
So, Paris.
Farouk is Omorodion.
Omorodion, okay, yeah.
Atleti.
Exactly. So like right now, it's looking like it's Paris Saint-Germain or nothing except if something happens, like they're talking about like a loan, for example, like maybe some teams will take him on a loan with an obligation to buy. If that happens, I can see a team like Arsenal actually coming in because like Nketiah is going to go for 30 million to Marseille. So that might be something that's quite interesting as well. Maybe Arsenal decides, to break the bank for that because I think like a loan with a 70, 80 million obligation to buy, I think it's a really good deal for a player like Victor Osimhen. But then based on what I heard that he is the highest paid player in Italy right now. I don't know if it's true or not, but like I was told that he's the highest paid player in Italy right now. Yes. But then it's totally believable when you consider like people like the highest paid players you see even in Milan. It's like what's he called? The captain Lautaro. It's like 10 million a year, something like that. So and like he's the highest paid player in the whole of Milan. Like both AC and Inter. So maybe it's logical that I think Osimhen earns around 15 a year. So yeah. Interesting.
Sunay, the only conclusion I draw from all of this conversation is the fact that Osimhen does not have the right people in his entourage. Farouk. So, he's not getting the right advice.
When you start getting new agents mid-season, that's the problem now. We started from the bottom, but we're no longer here, man. That's the problem. They forget their roots now.
You should kind of reach out to his agent, or you never know what you might end up with. You could probably fund, our entire holidays for the next 5 years if you manage.
Excited actually Nigerians were like they're gonna get their first 100 million transfer, but then all of a sudden, Shearer saved the plan.
Yeah, everything has to be blamed on Luciano Spalletti. This MF, ruined my Euros, right? Ruined Napoli's, sophomore year. Ruined Osimhen's career trajectory. Like this guy just by leaving Napoli.
With all due respect, I think like Luciano Spalletti overachieved. Like that's the thing. Like he got players playing at. I do not expect Osimhen or Shearer to replicate.
But the fall off was just brutal for Napoli.
Yeah,
we are talking too much about Napoli anyway. We should get back to where the business matters. At Atalanta, guys. Before we kind of move further, what's your prediction, Mo? Just for the Atalanta game, and how do you see it panning out?
Madrid will win. I think 4-3 maybe. Yeah.
No. Tennis match, yeah. Basketball match.
Yeah, it's a preseason.
Go on, Farouk.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tighter one. I think it's going to be something like 2-1 for Real Madrid, and I think it's going to be like quite a tight game. Nothing extraordinary. I think it's just going to be a continuation of what we've seen for the past 36 months with Carlo Ancelotti.
I'm just going to say why I said 4-3 is like I kind of expect the game to be not good defensively because Real Madrid, especially when you consider the backline, what's going to be the backline? It's going to be Rudiger, Militao, Carvajal, and Mendy. Carvajal and Mendy haven't played a single game. The midfield is probably going to be Fede Valverde, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Bellingham. These guys, again, haven't played a single game. Offensively, I expect them to be good because, the connections from last season are going to be there. But defensively, I don't expect them to be in top shape. So I'm kind of expecting a high scoring game.
Mo already, I think, staked his claim for the starting 11. Farouk, how do you think they're going to set up? What would be your ideal starting 11? Just combine probably the two equations into one. Your best 11 for the season and the best 11 for the Super Cup. It might be, a bit different, but if conditions were favorable, if conditions were optimal, who would you start?
Well, if conditions are optimal, I think that's more rightly pointed. We have Thibaut in goal, Carvajal, Mendy, and then Rudiger and Militao, and then we have Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Bellingham, and Fede Valverde, and then Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Junior.
So we are sticking with the diamond.
Yeah, something like that.
I think we're gonna stick with the diamond, but I don't think Mbappe is gonna start.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Mbappe is gonna start. I'm just saying this. He could blow up in my face, but I don't think Mbappe is gonna start.
I agree with you. Actually, I also don't think he starts. But I just mentioned because so let's say in the larger picture of the season.
Oh, larger picture.
Yeah.
But I would say, the showmanship of Carlo, in these kind of games, he's down to do a number. So I think 4-3-3 is gonna be the poster for the night, and it's going to be the front three, of Vini, Mbappe, and
he's trying to create breadcrumbs for his boy Rodrigo.
See,
no. I'm not trying to break crumbs or anything.
I just gonna go with what Ancelotti said. He said, "Super Cup is for the players who won the Champions League." I don't think Mbappe played in the Champions League, so I kind of expect him not to start.
I just expect the front three to be Mbappe, Vini, and Rodrigo. But let's see.
I mean, you could be on point entirely. It could be 4-3-3.
Yeah.
Actually, I do think we're going to see an Arda Güler start, in my opinion, in this game.
Arda Güler starting?
Yeah.
I don't think
no
so.
chance.
Just for this game.
If I was the manager, if I was Ancelotti, Arda Güler is going to be starting. But I am not. So.
Again, this game is going to give us a good insight into who starts against Mallorca.
It could definitely.
Yeah. On Sunday, away trip to Mallorca, never easy. It's going to be a decent test for us then as well. Let me look into a few comments before we slowly start to wrap this up. Right. Yuri was mentioning, I hate the Kolasinac guy with a passion because of essay. Ashik was mentioning, I forgot that Carlo is also Italian, it may backfire. Lookman seems to always have a good look at the field and the goal when he's on the pitch. My goodness, Ashik, come on, man. Spare some thoughts for us mortals, Yuri was mentioning the transfer market is effed at the moment, not going to lie. Ashik was mentioning 5-0 to Madrid. No Selu hat-trick. I don't know what he means by that, but Yuri was mentioning it's either going to be 2-1 or 4-0. There's no in-between, in my opinion. Yeah. Ashik was also stressing Arda must start.
Yeah,
see, the Arda fanboys.
Ashik, I 100% agree with you. Arda must start, Dump Bellingham, I don't know, whoever you have to dump them and start Arda Güler.
Arda Güler can come off the bench and still have...
Arda Güler should start. Arda Güler should play 90 minutes, 120 minutes, 180 minutes if he can.
Let's just hope these guys get their flowers this season.
But seriously, I kind of do agree. I think Arda Güler, he deserves a chance.
Yeah. I was a huge fan of how he played in the Euros. Was very good in pre-season as well. So I'm all for it. But we all know how Carlo operates. But I'm gonna do my
I know how Sinead always back cycles. So we all know how Carlo operates. And then next week we're gonna come on the pod and be like, Carlo is this, Carlo is that, he can walk on water, he's the second coming of Jesus, come on, he revived the man from dead.
Man, I give him praise when he deserves, and he's been deserving it for the large part of the last 18 months, Farouk. You gotta give the man some respect.
I can learn something from you today, right, about humility.
You know what? I'm going to completely disregard that statement and focus on the good synergy right now and reserve that for tougher times where the ration is on the low, right, throughout the season. I'm going to do my fair bit of digging and kind of try to understand what this team is going to be about throughout the season. So will you, Farouk, and so will Mo, and so will all of us. This season is going to be a funny one because this kind of pressure has it's kind of alien to me, at least. The new Madrid, we haven't had this kind of pressure in a bit. So players would have to step up. Players who kind of took a seat back last season would be thrown into the firing lines, more games to play, revamped Champions League format and whatnot. The FIFA Club World Cup at the end of this season as well in the summer. So the schedule is absolutely jam-packed.
And I think
we'll need every...
I would just add one more important point is the fact that these players no longer have the protection of Toni Kroos. So now it's totally up to them. The midfield and attack, they totally have to figure it out on themselves. So they have to deliver now.
100%. That's a big factor. Toni Kroos can't be replaced. There isn't a possible solution to it. But this team, like we talked about before, I truly believe these guys have enough up their sleeves whether in terms of experience or tools at their arsenal to kind of navigate this scenario in the best way possible. My predictions for Atalanta, like what Yuri was mentioning, it's either going to be a KG 2-1 or we are going to thrash Atalanta.
Man,
but either
that's
way,
not a prediction. That's just you covering all your bases. Give your prediction.
I mean, I'm not going to win a lottery or win a
Give
draw
your prediction,
with this prize.
bro. Don't go in circles. One prediction.
Okay. Relax. I was just. This is the preseason game. I'm very on the nose, to the point with my predictions throughout the season. But
okay. Lots of talk. Prediction, please.
Since Mo pushed me into a corner, I'm gonna say a 3-1, right? Fuck. Yeah. Let's go with 3-1. 3-1 should be decent enough. Atlanta are gonna bring plenty of stuff to think about for us on the pitch. So it's not going to be as dead as the Manchester United tie was a few years ago. It's going to be a lot more interesting than that. But yeah, people, watch out for the preview. Hopefully Thursday or Friday. Depending on when Jacob would be available, Farouk and Jacob would be back again in the hot seat to break down everything ahead of Mallorca and how the team is kind of shaping up. There's going to be a slight change in the schedules, I believe. It's going to be probably an hour or two earlier than the usual 1 p.m. EST slot that we used to do previews at. But I'm pretty sure people who can tune in will tune in, and people who can't tune in live would absolutely be tuning in on our audio platforms. Big up our listeners on our audio platforms. A huge backbone of what we do has given us unwavering support over the course of the last three and a half years. I was just going through some of the comments, some criticism, with audio issues and whatnot, which I completely understand. But some deserved praise for guys like Jacob, Mo, Farouk, Doris. The list goes on and on. The support and the love is 100% appreciated, and keep it coming, people, because these guys, all of us, we don't do this for a living. We are not professional journos. We aren't funded to do this. We are absolutely a fan project at our heart. And we do this juggling, all sorts of stuff, families, jobs, some people unis. So, yeah, send in your feedback, positive or negative. What makes this pod what it is because, you guys help us make it a two-way street. We have a conversation, like what fans are supposed to do, regarding our club and whatnot. So, here's to another season full of ups and downs, some Carlo shockers, some unwavering faith from me, some hair scratching moments from Farouk, some unbiased opinion from Mo, and some cold-blooded watch-alongs from Doris. It's going to be hectic, man. Even Jacob as well, the calmest of our lot, probably the most the coolest guy, probably, because Mo, me, and Farouk can sometimes get we could get caught in crossfire, but Jacob is the guy who kind of stands back and gives in the sneakiest of stabs when we least expect it. But yeah, people, any final thoughts, Mo and Farouk, heading into this season? Mo?
I just want to say that I'm going to try to be unbiased as much as possible, except when it's about Arda Güler. At that point in time, my honorary citizenship for Turkey is on the line, so total bias for Arda Güler.
I hope it's not for a hair transplant, but
I mean, I'm pretty happy with my hair. So.
Okay, you do you. Farouk, go on.
Yeah, man. I actually, I really look forward to the season to see, what the team looks like, because right now, we're just all speculating what the team is going to be or what the team isn't going to be. So, yeah, man, I really do look forward to that, and I hope, this season, hopefully, we get to see, some more interesting patterns and intricate play. Something that we can watch without getting bored. Hopefully, fingers crossed, inshallah, God please. yes, that's just my last thought for the season.
Hopefully, we I'm just praying and hoping players stay fit. We have that side of the equation under control, and we leave it up to the experts. The guys who won us 3 Champions Leagues over the last decade to see us out for yet another glorious season. Big up our partners, Manscaped. Go check them out. Pioneers in men's grooming. They have a whole plethora of products. Trimmers, lingerie, beard waxes. Go check them out. LB at 20% off at manscaped.com. Free shipping across the world. Shout out to them as always. Shout out to the boys as well. Shout out to all the people that have supported us throughout the years. Big Steve, the Big Six family, Turkish, Matisse. We are a team in Madrid who works tirelessly to bring you content from outside the Bernabeu. Watch this space for more of it this season, and a few special guests as well. From Madrid. But yeah, people. Until next time. Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid. And vamos golear.